Boker Tov. So we are on Daf Lamed Bet Amud Aleph. That is our Amud for today. We said we would go over the last few lines before the Mishnah very quickly. So let's start from where it says Amar Rava. So the case that we were talking about in the previous Mishnah is you have two brothers that are, or we have three brothers that are all married to different people. First brother dies, second brother does ma'amar on his wife, and then he dies. So we said both of them do chalitza, not yibum. And Amar Rava, Natan ged lema'amaro, Boker Tov, Huturat Tzarata. We're just reviewing the last couple lines that we went through fast yesterday before the next Mishnah. So, Amar Rava, Natan ged lema'amaro, Huturat Tzarata. If that second brother, Shimon, gave a get for the ma'amar that he did, Huturat Tzarata, the third brother, is allowed to now do yibum to the other wife. Aval he asur, meaning to Shimon's original wife, not to the one that he did that Shimon gave a get to. Right? Aval he asura, but the one that got the get for the ma'amar is asura. Why? De mechalfa beba'alat get, because people are gonna think that if a person gives a get to break off the zikah, not just a get for the ma'amar, but if someone gives a get to break off the zikah, it'll be mutar to do yibum, and in that case, really it's asur for any other brother to do yibum. Igad amri, meaning there's a get for the zikah and there's a get for the ma'amar.
What is it?
We're right before the Mishnah. Igad amri amarava natan ged lema'amaro hutra afiluhi. Other opinion says that if the brother did ma'amar and then he gave a get for the ma'amar, she is even muteret to do yibum. My ta'ama, my da'avid bashakle. Whatever he did to her, he undid. Therefore, if he did ma'amar and then he did, he gave a get for the ma'amar, not a get for the zikah, a get for the ma'amar, she no longer has ma'amar and she reverts to being a regular lady with a zikah from the original brother, and the third brother would be allowed to do yibum to her. Okay, says the Mishnah, Shnei achin nisuin shetei achayot. So you have two brothers married to two sisters. Umet echad mehen, one of them dies. V'achar kach meta ishto shel sheni, and then afterwards the wife of the second brother dies. So first Reuven dies. Right? Reuven and Shimon are married to two sisters. First Reuven dies, and then Shimon's wife dies. So Hare zu asura alav olamit. Reuven's wife is asura on Shimon forever. Ho'il v'nei asura alav sha'achat, because she became asura at one point, meaning since there was no heter of yibum when Reuven died, and she ended up going free, right? Because she was an erva. So now, even though when Shimon's wife dies and she's no longer an erva, she's still an erva, meaning she's no longer his wife's sister because his wife died. So she's no longer his wife's sister, but she still has an erva of eshet ach on her, because the meaning is brother's wife, because she was his brother's wife who he never had an opportunity to do yibum with. Okay, so the Gemara says pshita. This is obvious because we already learned it on the previous daf. On the previous daf, we had a couple of dapim ago, we had a bunch of mishnayot. One of the mishnayot was this case exactly, except that was even a bigger chidush. That case was you had three brothers, two of them are married to two sisters. First, Reuven dies, then Shimon's wife dies, and still we say that she cannot do yibum. Now, pshita, hashta umahatam delo midchia mehai beta. In that case where you have a third brother, when Reuven dies, his wife is not free. His wife is still connected to the family because she can do yibum to Levi. She has a zikah to Levi. Just she doesn't have a zikah to Shimon because Shimon is her relative. It's her sister's husband. But she has a zikah to Levi, so she never fully got pushed away. She never was freed from that household, legamre. Amart lo, you said that in that case, she cannot do yibum to Levi, to Shimon afterwards, to the middle brother. Hacha, In this situation, for sure she should be, she gets fully freed. There's no way that she should become muter to do yibum afterwards. So, there's no zikah at all to the household at all. Mm-hmm. So the Gemara says, Tana ha Tana beresha. Really, this Mishnah came first. First, came the situation where she never had a zikah. The husband died, she fell to yibum. She never fell to yibum because she never had a zikah. In that case, she never becomes muteret to the brother. V'ha chazi lehetera. But we thought the other case would be mutar, where she falls to yibum to the family and just doesn't have a zikah to one brother, and then that brother's wife dies, her sister dies. We thought that case would be mutar. V'hada chazi leisura. Then we realized that case is asur, and we taught that Mishnah. Since that Mishnah was more precious, we put it first to Mishnah lo zaza mimkoma, and this Mishnah we didn't remove. So in order of things, you're right. They're both asur. Really, first this is asur, then that Mishnah should come next and say that was the next step of understanding what was asur. However, the order was flipped. Okay.
This case happened.
What?
In America. Two sisters.
Yeah.
Married with two brothers. Two sisters got married with the two boys. Yeah. They go boat riding. One of the husband died. One of the wife died. Then this one and this one get married together.
Huh. Interesting. Okay.
Huh?
Okay.
As a matter of fact, related with Baruch.
Oh, they're related. Okay. Rabbanan.
That was very strange.
Okay. Ba'aleha chayav aleha mishum eshet ach mishum achot isha. Okay, so now let's say like this. You have Reuven and Shimon are brothers. They're married to two sisters. Reuven dies. Mm-hmm. Okay, now let's say Shimon does yibum. So says the Braita here that he's chayav double because it's Eshet Ach, it's his brother's wife in a situation where Yibum is not allowed. So that's one Isur, Eshet Ach. Umishum Achot Ishan, also it's his wife's sister. So he's Chayav double. Divi Rabbi Yossi, that's Rabbi Yossi's opinion. Rabbi Shimon Omer, Eino Chayav Ela Mishum Eshet Ach. Rabbi Shimon says, no. There's only one Isur here, Eshet Ach. We don't, Rabbi Shimon holds Ein Isur Chal Al Isur. Once you have one Isur, so the other one is not Chal on it. So the Gemara says, well, 1 second. V'hatani Rabbi Shimon Omer, Eino Chayav Ela Mishum Achot Isha. Bilvad. We have a Braita that teaches that Rabbi Shimon said the exact opposite. Not that he's Chayav for Eshet Ach, for his brother's wife, but he's Chayav for Achot Isha, for his wife's sister. So which one is he Chayav? Meaning in this situation where it's the brother's wife and it's the wife's sister, so which Isur is he Chayav? On the one hand, we have Rabbi Shimon say he's Chayav for Eshet Ach. On the other hand, we have Rabbi Shimon say he's Chayav for Achot Isha. So which one is it? So Gemara says, Lo Kasha. This is not a question. There's a very easy way to work this out. Kan shenasa chai v'achar kach nasa met. One case is the living brother, Shimon, he married her first, v'achar kach nasa met. And then afterwards, the brother who died, Reuven, married. So first, Shimon married to a woman, and her sister became Asura because it's his wife's sister. Yeah. Then Reuven married her. So that second Isur of brother's wife was not Chal because she was already Asura. Mm-hmm. And Kan shenasa met v'achakach nasa chai. And so in that case, if the living brother, if Shimon got married first, then she's going to be an erva of Achot Isha, right? Not Eshet Ach, because the brother's wife, that Isur is not Chal on her. The other way...
You get the strongest one, yeah?
No, so according to Rabbi Shimon, it's whatever came first, whatever comes first. Kan shenasa met v'achagach nasa chai. And the other case is when the Reuven married first. So that means first this lady became Asura on Shimon because it's his brother's wife. After that, v'achagach nasa chai. And then afterwards Shimon married the sister, and then she became his wife's sister. So the isur of wife's sister was never chal on her because she was already asura because of brother's wife. So that's Rabbi Shimon who says ein isur chal al isur. So the Gemara says Rabbi Shimon hecha de nasa met v'achar kach nasa chai kevan de isur achot isha lo chayil tityabem. The Gemara says, okay, I have a question. In a scenario where Reuven, the brother who died, married first. So, let's say Reuven marries a lady, and then and she becomes Eshet Ach, she becomes a brother's wife to Shimon. Then Shimon marries her sister. So we said the Isur Erva of Achot Isha, of wife's sister, was never Chal. So if that Isur is never Chal, so let him do Yibum. If Reuven dies, then there was never an Isur of Eshet Ach, of Achot Isha, on Reuven's wife. Therefore, Shimon should be able to do Yibum. So, Tityabem Yibume. So, Amar Ravashi. Ravashi says no. Isur Achot Isha mitlatali vekai. The Isur of Achot Isha, right, the case was, again, Reuven got married first. She became Eshet Ach. Reuven's wife became Eshet Ach to Shimon. Then Shimon married her sister, but that lady was already Eshet Ach, so she never became Achot Isha. She never became an erva of Achot Isha. If she never became an erva, she should do Yibum. So the Gemara says no. That Isur of Achot Isha is like waiting there to jump on her. It's Mitlat Tali Vekai. It's true, she's not Achot Isha right now, but the Isur is like hanging above her, waiting to jump on her. And Ipaka Isur Eshet Ach, if the Isur of Eshet Ach leaves, so Ati Isur Achot Isha V'chayil, then the Isur of Achot Isha is going to be settle on her and is going to be Chal on her. So V'hilkach Lo Paka, therefore the Isur of Eshet Ach cannot leave, because once it leaves, it's going to be the Isur of Achot Isha will jump in. Therefore, that's preventing the fact that he's married to her sister is preventing the Isur of Eshet Ach from leaving, and therefore, in a situation where Reuven got married first, she would be considered an Eshet Ach, and if Shimon was with that lady, it would be over Eshet Ach. Okay, says the Gemara further. Now, Rabbi Yossi's opinion was that he's chayav both, right? We had a machlok at Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon. Just to clarify, cases Reuven and Shimon are brothers married to two sisters. So Reuven died. So Rabbi Yossi, if Shimon is with Reuven's wife, Rabbi Yossi said he's doing two isurim. He's doing Eshet Ach and Achot Isha. He's doing double isurim. That was Rabbi Yossi's opinion. So that means Rabbi Yossi holds there is an Isur Chal on Isur, right? Because otherwise, how could he be Chayav double for the same woman? She's his brother's wife and also his wife's sister. That must mean that he holds she became one erva first, and then an additional erva was Chal on her. So the Gemara challenges this. The Gemara says, V'sava Rabbi Yossi Isur Chal Isur. Does Rabbi Yossi really hold that an Isur could be Chal on another Isur? V'atanya, we have a Braita that teaches like this. Avar Avera sheyesh ba shtei mitot. Let's say somebody did an Avera that comes with two chiyuvei mitot. Okay? Nidon bechamura. He gets the more strict one. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Nidon bezika harishona. Rabbi Yossi says he gets whichever the first one that was chal, the first isur that was chal on it. Right? Nidon bezika harishona haba'a alav. Now, what's exactly this case? So the Gemara is going to explain. Vetanya, Ketzad, Amar Rabbi Yossi Nidon bezika harishona. What's exactly the case where Rabbi Yossi says you go after the first isur that was chal, haba'a alav? So chamoto v'na'asit eshedish. Case is, let's say he was with his mother-in-law who was also married. So she's an eshedish and she's also his mother-in-law. So there's two isurim on her. So Tanakama said you go by whichever one is more strict. right? Eshet ish, I believe, is chenek. I think Rashi says here, Eshet ish is chenek, and mother-in-law is sreifa. So sreifa is more strict. So mother-in-law is more strict. Rabbi Yossi says you go by whichever one came first. So if the case is chamoto, first it was his mother-in-law, meaning she's single, she's a single mother, and you married the daughter, and then afterwards the mother-in-law became an eshet ish, v'na'asit eshet ish, and then he was with the mother-in-law. So nidon bechamoto, he gets the punishment for mother-in-law because that came first. Eshet ish v'na'asit chamoto. Let's say she was already an eshet ish, and then this guy marries her daughter, so now it becomes his mother-in-law. So nidon be'eshet ish, he gets the punishment of eshet ish. So you get whichever one came first. If she was first an eshet ish and then you married her daughter, so you get the punishment of eshet ish. If she was first your mother-in-law, you were first married to her daughter, and then afterwards she became eshet ish, you get the punishment for mother-in-law. That's what Rabbi Yossi holds. So that means that Rabbi Yossi is not saying Isur is Chalal Isur. If you say Isur is Chalal Isur, that means that at the time that you were with her, there are two Isurim on her. So in terms of punishment, you get the more strict punishment. That's what the Tanakama said. Rabbi Yossi didn't say that. So, Amar Rabbi Avau, says Rabbi Avau, Modeh Rabbi Yossi Be'isur Mosif. Rabbi Yossi agrees there is a situation that Isur can be Chal al Isur. It's called Isur Mosif. So what's Isur Mosif?
Extra.
Isur Mosif is when an Isur is being Chal on that person regarding other people. When Isur is Chal on that person regarding other people, it's going to be Chal regarding you too. So in a case, let's see the case of the two brothers married to two sisters, and Reuven died and Shimon did Yibum to thing. So according to we're gonna read it in the Gemara. Let's just read it in the Gemara. The Gemara is gonna explain. So that works in a scenario where the living brother got married first, Shimon got married first, and then afterwards Nasa met, and then afterwards Reuven got married. So first, this lady became an eshet, an achot isha. First, this lady became an erva on Shimon because it's his wife's sister, and then afterwards it became his brother's wife also. So migo deitosaf isur lagabe achim, since this Eshet Ach was Chal on this lady regarding the brothers, so Itusaf Isur legabe dideh, then Eshet Ach is Chal regarding this brother also. Meaning, generally, right, you have, again, Shimon and Reuven and Shimon. So if Shimon married a woman, right, this is the one who's going to marry Reuven. So if Shimon married her sister, she becomes, this lady becomes Achot Isha. And then when Reuven marries her, she shouldn't become an Isur Eshet Ach because she's already Asura on Shimon. So we should say Ein Isur Chal Isur. However, there's something called Isur Mosif. The Isur is going to be Chal on her with regard to the other brothers, because now if Reuven marries her, she becomes an Eshet Ach to all the other brothers. So in such a case, the Isur is being Chal on her with regard to other brothers. So once it's being Chal on her with regard to the other brothers, it's going to be Chal on her with regard to this brother also. Meaning he holds in such a case, yes, Isur is Chal al Isur. And that would explain the case of Eshet Ish and mother-in-law also. Because Rabbi Yossi would say that when it's first his mother-in-law, right? When it's first his mother-in-law, and then afterwards she becomes an Eshet Ish. So Eshet Ish is Isur Mosif, because it's an Isur that's Chal regarding everybody else. It makes her Asura on everybody else. And therefore it's going to be Chal regarding this person also. So she really has two Isurim on her. mother-in-law and Eshet Ish. So she gets the punishment of mother-in-law because it's more strict. But when she was an Eshet Ish first, a mother-in-law, Chamoto, is not an Isur Mosif. It's not adding, it's not making her Asur on anybody else more than she was before. She was already Asura because of Eshet Ish. So it's not adding anything. Therefore, she gets the punishment. He gets the punishment of Eshet Ish. So that's how we're trying to explain. We're trying to explain Rabbi Yossi holds of Isur Mosif, but the Gemara asks, okay, but if you're plugging that into the case of the two brothers married to two sisters, that only works when the living brother married first. Then when the second brother gets married, so she becomes an Eshet Ach regarding the other brothers. Therefore, she also becomes an Eshet Ach regarding this brother. It's an Isur Mosif. Elahecha denasa met. But in the case where the dead brother, the Reuven, he is the one that got married first. So first she became Eshet Ach. She became the wife of the brother. And then Shimon married her sister. She became to Shimon Achot Isha to Shimon afterwards. So Ma Isur Mosifika. In that case, there's no Isur Mosif. Because first...
Wait a second.
Let's just explain. I'll explain. So you have these two, Reuven and Shimon. So first Reuven married this woman. So she became Eshet Ach. So she's already Asura.
Eshet Ach of the Shimon.
Eshet Ach of Shimon, she's already Asura.
Okay.
Now Shimon marries her sister. That Isur is not an Isur Mosif because she's not becoming Asura on anyone else. She's not.
He didn't do anything wrong, Shimon.
One second. No. There's nothing wrong. But that Isur of wife's sister is not going to be Chal on her because it's not an Isur Mosif. We said, according to Rabbi Yossi, when do we say one Isur will be Chal on another Isur? When it's an Isur Mosif. When it's making her Asura on other people, then it'll be Chal. That Isur is going to be Chal on her regarding other people, so it's going to be Chal on her regarding this guy also. But the Isur of Achot Isha, of his wife's sister, is not Chal on her because it's not an Isur Mosif. It's not Chal on her regarding others. It's not Chal on her regarding this. Meaning, when...
What's the Isur of Achot Isha? Isur on who?
On Shimon.
After his
We're talking about the wife is still alive. The wife is still alive. Shimon's wife is still alive. So the Gemara asks, Elahecha de nasa mit v'achar kach nasa chai. When Reuven gets married first, and she becomes an Eshet Ach first, and then afterwards she becomes an Achot Isha. So Achot Isha should not be Chal because there's no Isur Mosif. Ma Isur Mosif Ika. What Isur Mosif is there? V'chitema migo de itzar bekulehu achvata. Maybe you'll tell me that, well, another Isur is not Chal on her, but that Isur is Chal on others in her group, meaning when Shimon marries the sister, the Isur of Achot Isha is Chal on all of his wife's sisters. So since it's Chal on all of his other wife's other sisters, it shall be Chal on this sister also, even though she's already married. But once the Isur is Chal on other things, it's Chal on this also. Right? So the Gemara says, Ha Isur Kolelhu. That's not an Isur Mosif, that's an Isur Kolel. So just to understand, there's a difference between Isur Mosif and Isur Kolel. In general, we say Ein Isur Chalal Isur. There's no Isur. If something is already Asur, it's not going to become Asur again. But you have exceptions. One exception is Isur Mosif, when an Isur is going to be Chal on this item with regard to other things. And one is Isur Kolel, that the Isur is going to be Chal on other items in this grouping, so it'll be Chal on this item also. But that Rabbi Yossi is not saying. We're not suggesting that Rabbi Yossi is saying that. We're only suggesting that Rabbi Yossi is saying that Isur Mosif is going to be Chal on another Isur, but not Isur Kolel. And if first Reuven gets married, and then afterwards Shimon marries the sister, the Isur of Eshet Ach that's Chal that's an Isur Kolel, not an Isur Mosif, and it should not be Chal on the other Isur. So, Ella Amar Rava. Rather, Rava says, well, we'll read this line, we'll end after this line, because the next Gemara goes, we can't really go much further, we're not going to make it. So, Ella Amar Rava. Ma'aleh ani alav ki'ilu asa shtayim, ve'eno chayav ela achat. Rava changes the whole understanding of Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi said, in the original Braita that we brought about the two brothers married to two sisters and one of them dies, if Shimon is together with Reuven's wife, we said Rabbi Yossi says he's chayav double for Eshet Achot Isha and Eshet Ach. So the Gemara is saying, no. When Rabbi Yossi said they didn't mean that it actually over two Isurim because Isur Chalal Isur. We consider it with regard to something. We'll see what in a moment. We consider it that it's as if he did two Isurim. Right? Amar Rava says, Ma'ale ani alav ki'ilu asa shtayim, ve'eno chayav ela achat. I consider it as if he did two Isurim. But really he's only chayav one. V'chen ki'ata Ravin, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, when Ravin came, he said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, same thing. Ma'ale ani alav ki'ilu asa shtayim. It's as if he did two. Ve'eno chayav ela achat. Now, my nafkamina, what's the difference? Like, so what if you count it like he did too? What's the halachic difference? Lekovro ben rishaim gimurim, to bury him with regard to where he's buried. There's a halacha that certain people, yeah. So someone who did this isur, even though none of them, there's a halacha of people who did mitot beit din, they have to be buried in a specific place for mitot beit din. Now none of these have eshet ach and achot isha, none of them have mitot beit din. Eshet ach is just karet and achot isha is just karet. But since he did this, even though there's no isur chalal isur, and you didn't technically do both isurim, but in such a case it's kind of like in Shamayim you did something really bad, because technically maybe there's a way for two isurim to be here, even though technically there's not. But there's on some level it's as if we treat it like there's two Isurim here, and the nafkamina is with regard to where he's buried, even though these are not things that have mitot beit din, but he would be buried ben rishaim gimurim. Okay, so I guess we will stop here, B'ezrat Hashem.